You're listening to the Chronicles of a Gooner, the Arsenal podcast.
I'm Martin Tyler, and you're listening to Harry Symeou.
Hello and welcome back to the Chronicles of a Gooner, the Arsenal podcast, part of the 90 Min Football Network. As ever, I'm your host, Harry Symeou. The day after transfer deadline day, I know a lot of people are feeling a little bit flat, a little bit underwhelmed, but here to help us make sense of all of it is the brilliant Adrian Clarke. Adrian, welcome back to the show, mate. It's been a while. How have you been?
Yeah, all good. Yeah, I'm fine. Good to be back on the show with you. And yeah, I'll try and make sense of it. I'll do my best. I can't make any promises at this stage. But yeah, look, I know everybody's feeling a little bit down in the dumps, but certainly all is not lost. Plenty to play for, and it's still within our grasp to achieve what we set out to achieve at the start of the season.
Absolutely, completely agree. I was just having a little bit of a chuckle at some of the live comments coming through. Jid, one of our members, says Harry being this latest non-negotiable. It's brilliant. What was the other one? There was one that said I'm being held hostage by my wife and he's not allowed to log on until he finishes his spaghetti pod. What? Completely random. But anyway, brilliant stuff. Adrian, let's kick off by getting your overall thoughts on the transfer window. Because I think a lot of people were actually quite accepting of the fact that we probably needed to move a lot of the players who left on, and that we needed to clear space for hopefully some big additions in the summer. But I think a combination of that and the fact that we didn't bring anybody of any real significance has led to a lot of people feeling like they've been shortchanged this window, I guess. What's your overall take on the window and how it went?
I think the overall take is one of underwhelmment, really, because we do look a little bit light on numbers, and it would, I think, have given us such a boost to bring in a front player that would have given us that injection of goals in the second half of the season. Because if you look around at West Ham in particular, they failed to find any of their targets. So that's a missed chance for them. Spurs have got rid of a few and brought a couple in, but they didn't get that right wing back that they wanted so badly for the balance of the team. So I don't think they're any further forward necessarily. And Manchester United are probably weakened. So there was that opportunity to steal a march on the others, but it's kind of as you were, isn't it? In terms of the playing personnel and yeah, we've got a chance. We're lean, we're young, we're hungry, but we're also very reliant on injuries, so or avoiding injuries. So that is the real frustration. I've got no issues at all with any of the outgoings. I think that for various reasons, most of the players were fringe and wouldn't have got much game time. So to get them off the books is fine in my opinion. It's probably been overdue, hasn't it, in terms of trimming the wage bill. The only one that I'd say was a slight head scratcher was the Maitland-Niles one, which I think suits the player more than the club. We could have done, having sold Chambers, of course, or we were clearly prepared to sell Chambers. Could have done with him as cover at right back, I think, and also he could have covered in central midfield where we're not exactly full of players. So that's the one that I'd quibble about, but the others, including Aubameyang, I think make sense to me.
Yeah, we'll come on to talk about Aubameyang in a bit, because obviously that's the most high profile of the departures. And you mentioned the Ainsley Maitland-Niles transfer there, and you've been a player, Adrian. You've played, you've been in dressing rooms. You understand that dynamic more than any of us could ever, understand it. If an agreement was made, a gentleman's agreement, shall we call it that, between Ainsley Maitland-Niles and Mikel Arteta, I mean, surely Mikel Arteta deciding to then go back on that and Arsenal deciding to go back on that can not only have an impact on that player and your relationship with that individual, but on the wider dressing room as well, right? Because if you're a colleague and you're looking on, you see that a promise has been made and then broken, that would change the kind of way that you're viewed as a manager, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think that the best managers are always managers that are honest and trusted by the players that they work with. As soon as a manager loses the trust of their players, if a player thinks, I can't, if he tells me something, I can't believe him, I can't rely on that to actually happen. That is a problem, a big problem. And half the time, it is where managers make false promises, where relationships break down, and then the dressing room, in effect, collapses, as do results. So no, I do get that. And if look, I don't know whether that's fact that a promise was made or not. But if it was, then I have respect for them for sticking to it. But it was a decision that certainly helps the player rather than the club, because he's a very handy utility player to have around, even if long term you don't see him as being a starter. So look, it happened early on in the window. Maybe if it had happened at the end of the window, I probably could have. It would have made more sense, but it happened at a time when we were really short.
Yeah,
and it definitely hindered, I think, our progress in that League Cup semi-final.
Yeah, good point. What did you make of the players that we were linked with signing? Now we know, or we're led to believe, that Arsenal, went and made a play for Dusan Vlahovic of Fiorentina. On the one hand, we're sitting here as fans saying that we have to be aiming for the very best. But on the other hand, we kind of have to accept, don't we, that there will be disappointment from time to time because of where we are in terms of our development.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, Juventus, whether we like it or not, kind of trump Arsenal, don't they, at the moment, in terms of stature in the world game where they're at. So, and he's a player that's obviously very comfortable in Italian football, and so he knows that he can deliver goals at that level. It suits him. So yeah, it makes sense to me that he would have chosen us. But yeah, I like the fact that we were chasing him. I think he's the right type of player. The one source of frustration, I guess, is that if we were in the market for a striker, and if we knew we'd be in the market for a striker from sort of early December when the Aubameyang fallout happened, then I do think we had quite a bit of time to line up 2 or 3 potential options, because that's what happens when clubs work out their transfer plans. They have plan A, plan B, and plan C. It's their prerogative if they want to go to plan B or C or not, of course, but that is how it works. So the fact that it was that guy or seemingly nothing, then that's slightly surprising. But with Isak, you might come on to, if the fee, if the demands of Real Sociedad were as high as being reported, then again, I can see the logic in why Arsenal would have walked away from that in the here and now.
Yeah, me too. And I think, as I said on one of the recent podcasts, I felt like if we had moved for Alexander Isak, like actually moved for him rather than just it being speculation earlier in the window, maybe there would have been time to negotiate with Real Sociedad and find a common ground. Maybe there would have been time for Real Sociedad to identify a replacement that then allows them to move him on. I think the fact that we turned supposedly, and all of this is according to the reports, right? So we've got to be mindful of that. But the fact that we turned to him so late just felt like, if I were that player, I wouldn't feel wanted. I wouldn't feel loved. Exactly. And then that player's not going to push for the move, is he?
No, it's a very good point. Yeah, I mean, all the eggs seem to be in the Vlahovic basket. And yeah, if you're the next in line, you don't want to know that you're the next in line. You want to feel like you were number one all along. So, but it is what it is. Arsenal have now bought themselves a bit of time to weigh up who is the best option. The truth is, we might be looking at 2 or 3 strikers in the summer transfer window now, rather than just the one. One thing I will say, even though we're all disappointed that no one arrived, I do like the players that we were linked with. I liked Vlahovic. I like Isak from what I've seen of him, and I definitely like Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now, it's not the right time to prize him away from Everton with that change of management. That worked against us clearly, but if it's true that we are seriously looking at him as an option, I would support that wholeheartedly, because I think he's a really, really good talent that could succeed and thrive for Arsenal, no doubt about it.
What did you make of the Aubameyang situation then? Because as fans looking in, we don't really know what's gone on. We're kind of, I think, assuming that what happened was probably deeper than what we were told because of the severity of the punishment. But I guess from my perspective, Adrian, I don't know if you agree with this. If he wasn't going to play, if it had gone that far and there was no kind of turning back, then actually letting him go, even on a free transfer, saves us a hell of a lot of money and feels like a sensible move.
No, definitely. You won't catch me disagreeing with that. No, it's the decision in itself that is I guess the point of controversy. It's not the fact that we let him go on a free, because I think as a business transaction, it's fair enough. It's quite a good deal because we saved a lot of money, many millions in wages on a player that is on the wane. I think that we can say that, not just because he's now left, but he is a player on the wane. He's at 32. He's not the player he was at 28. There's no argument about that. So no, it makes sense, and the player clearly wanted to go in the end. So it just feels to me as if the club or the manager just sees the opportunity to make the change, via the breach of discipline, which wasn't pre-planned. It's just one of those things. He's made 2 or 3 mistakes in the past. The line in the sand is drawn. Mikel Arteta has decided that on that next indiscretion, that's enough. Now, in most circumstances, when that happens, you sort of end up, as an apology, and you get on with things, and apology maybe from Aubameyang, and you crack on. But in this scenario, I just feel that because he was out of form, because he was on such good money, because the potential to recoup all that wages and give it to a younger, hungrier player might have presented itself, it kind of an opportunity was seized, I think, to go down the path that we have over the last few weeks. So that's how I see it, and it makes complete sense to me. I think from Mikel Arteta's point of view as well.
No, it does, and I've always said that even prior to the whole disciplinary sort of stuff, all of that coming out, even prior to the North London derby thing last season, I felt like tactically we kind of evolved away from Aubameyang naturally, not because he's not a good striker. He will probably go to Spain and score a fair amount of goals. He's a brilliant footballer. There's no doubt about that. But it just felt like we were moving away. And I tend to agree with you that it was an opportunity probably that the club felt they needed to seize. But it is a decision, isn't it, that is going to draw more pressure onto the club and onto Mikel Arteta in particular. Because if we continue to struggle to score goals, as we have done in the last month or so, there are a lot of Arsenal fans that aren't convinced he's the right man. And this just feels like another stick they'll beat him with.
It's a really strong decision. One thing I will say is that it's a show of faith from the club in the manager, that they've backed him in the sort of dispute between manager and player, and they've gone with his wishes there. So I think it's a sign of strength in their belief in Arteta. But yeah, all eyes will be on him and the team. Of course they will be, because we're effectively left with Lacazette, who wasn't a first choice player in the first part of the season, and we're left with Eddie Nketiah, who's had 51 minutes of Premier League action, 4 substitute appearances. Now, Mikel Arteta hasn't wanted to use Eddie Nketiah in the Premier League this season. So, but now there is no option if Alexander Lacazette is injured or suspended or whatnot. So, unless of course we move Martinelli up front, which I wouldn't be against. So, all eyes will be on the team. It heaps the pressure, actually, even more pressure on Saka and Smith Rowe, doesn't it? Who have been, carrying the team in terms of goals this season. There'll be even more reliance on them to continue doing that. But yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what happens if Lacazette does get injured or loses form.
What the next plan is?
Yeah, would it be Nketiah and stick with the young wide guys, or would it be Martinelli to go up front? And if it is Martinelli, it goes back to the style of play we had under Aubameyang, where you don't really have that focal point, but you have a guy that's more than capable of sort of standing on the shoulder of defenders and making those runs in behind. So will we go back to that? So yeah, it'll be fascinating to see what unfolds. But I think we're all keeping our fingers and toes crossed that nothing does happen to Lacazette, because all of a sudden he's gone from being a sub that didn't get enough game time to being, our most important player really between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess there was always an acceptance in my mind, Adrian, that we were going to have to kind of rip out a lot of what had been done in the years prior and then rebuild. But I don't think I imagined that we'd get to the point where the squad was this thin. And that is a big cause for concern for people. I mean, if you take, for example, the centre-back position, I know that Takahiro Tomiyasu can play at centre-back, and maybe that played a part in the decision. But to let Pablo Mari go and Callum Chambers and leave yourself with Holding, White and Gabriel as a trio, you can slot in one of the fullbacks if you need to, but it feels like we've left ourselves a little bit light there as well as up top. Obviously the midfield situation, which we touched on briefly, that was, I think the height of that problem was in January, and we didn't do anything then. So maybe it wasn't wise to be knee jerk at the end of the month to solve that. But it just feels like personnel wise, we're really thin. And I know nowadays we're kind of spoiled, aren't we? We look at squads of 25 men when, somebody pointed out in the chat the other day, I think it was 13 or 14 players we won the double in 71 with.
Wow, yeah, different times.
Times have changed, yeah. So how much of a concern is that for you when you take into consideration the frequency with which we're picking up injuries, the fact that COVID is still very prevalent, and the fact that we seem to have this disciplinary issue that leads to suspensions pretty often?
There are pros and cons to it, definitely. The cons are obvious. It's if injuries bite, then we're in trouble, aren't we? And the quality of that starting 11 is diminished. And let's face it, every match is like a final now. Every match is huge between now and the end of the season. Every drop point will matter. So we've got to be at it for every single game. There are no distractions, no excuses really. So yeah, that's the obvious negative. But the positive is that when you have that small group of players, every single member of that first team squad is highly motivated and feels involved, because at any point they know they've got a chance of being used. Now, that hasn't been the case until this point, where you've had a lot of sort of players that are out of favour, not making the matchday squad, that might be moping around the place. They might be, bitching about the manager, about the coaches, about the situation. You get this because it's a group of men together, lots of testosterone. You're going to get people that are moaning and groaning, and those are normally the guys that are out of favour. Now, no one can really be out of favour given how small the squad is at the moment. They'll all be heavily involved, and they'll all feel there's great motivation to perform in training, because if they do, then they'll get their opportunities between now and the end of the season. So I definitely see a positive, but we're very reliant on good fortune, aren't we? And I don't know, anyone that follows Arsenal or has followed Arsenal in recent years, every supporter will feel this of their club no matter what. But it doesn't feel like Arsenal get that much good luck. No. So we'll have to see how it pans out.
No, I completely agree. It always feels like we get the bad fortune. It seems to follow us around. That we don't help ourselves in certain situations. I think that's clear. Just a question I wanted to ask you about, obviously, because everybody knows that you do some work for the club and that you're quite involved, and obviously people appreciate that and understand that. What I wanted to ask you though was, when you're working with the club at the moment and when you're in and around the place, does it feel like Mikel Arteta is the focal point of this new strategy in the way it felt when, for example, Arsene Wenger was around the place, where everything was manager centric and everybody was dancing to his tune? Because I think a lot of people are struggling, looking from the outside, to understand why that is with Mikel Arteta, because they perceive there to be a lack of progress. But the club are really all in on this, aren't they?
I think they are. The honest answer is I don't know. I mean, I do still do the breakdown, even though it's not being shown on the website. Do the match day show, the breakdown live. But I'm in and out. I don't really get to have a feel of the club. I don't see the players. Obviously, with the COVID situation, the training ground is it's very difficult to sort of get access there. I'm not involved. Is the honest answer. So I don't know. But what I get the impression of is that, yeah, the club are all in on him. They're very supportive. Again, I'll go back to the Aubameyang situation. That is a show of real faith in the manager, because they're saying they're taking his side over star players side, aren't they? And arranging effectively for him to leave the club. So no, they're all in on Mikel Arteta. But we know that football is a results business. So and progress, tangible progress, is qualification for Europe, isn't it? Next season, we all dream of the top four. The door is open. It feels more ajar this season than it might next. So there's a chance there. But for him, European qualification, e.g., top six, does still feel like a must, even though he's got the full support.
Yeah, and that kind of segues nicely into what my next question was going to be: is have your thoughts on the season? Sort of how's the journey been in terms of your opinion on Arsenal? Because I'm assuming that at the start of the season you'd have set a target that you felt was realistic, and then going into the back end of last year, things were on the up, and maybe that was slightly adjusted, and now we are where we are. How is your kind of expectations? Have they changed at all, first of all? And if they have, where have the kind of ups and downs been?
I think I started off with the expectation that we would finish 5th or 6th, that we would make progress, but maybe not enough to get into the Champions League. That's more based on the strength of the other teams than our, any weakness on our part. I then started to get super excited, as I think we all did, because of the other teams, stumbling, and we really hit a lovely groove. And now I think I'm back where I started in terms of expectation. I believe that we're underdogs for top 4, but I feel that we should absolutely be finishing ahead of West Ham in the league this season, and Wolves and Leicester and teams like that. Spurs, who knows? I think we're a little bit better than Spurs, but they've got an excellent manager in Conte, haven't they? And United have got the better squad, haven't they? I don't think there's any doubt about that. So yeah, what the one thing that has stayed with me over the season so far that I'm really secure on is that the connection between the players and the crowd inside Emirates Stadium is better now than it has been for many years. It's absolutely fantastic. The atmosphere is terrific inside the ground. The Arsenal Twitter and the online community, not so in line maybe with the team as the fans that actually go to the games. I do feel that there's been a really good support this season. Great noise levels, and even in disappointment, they've stuck with the players and stuck with the manager to a degree as well. So that is the big plus for me so far this season: the connection between the team, and I would include the manager in that, and the supporters is really strong. It can fall apart. We all know that if you start losing loads of games, but it's been great. And my wish actually for the remainder of the season is that continues, because it is a happier place to be on a match day. I work there pretty much every home game. It's a happier place than it was, no doubt about it.
Yeah, for sure. And I've definitely felt that being there in the North Bank. I've definitely felt that. And I think the biggest telltale sign of that was the Manchester City game, where we got beat, but everybody was still completely back in the team and actually in quite good spirits, considering we'd been beaten. And that's when I looked around and thought, do you know what? Like, we're with this team. And I think a lot of the issues that people have right now are, we've left ourselves thin, and we've got, really inexperienced players that we're relying on. But I feel bought into this team and bought into this squad, and you're kind of willing to live and die with them if you feel that way. And I think we've definitely got that. And a transfer window or a couple of poor results along the way shouldn't detract from that, right?
No, I do agree on that. Yeah. I think we're all proud, aren't we, of the young team, of the young players. We're really proud of Saka and Smith Rowe and Martinelli. These guys, they've been superb. All of the young players have delivered this season, all of the ones that are in the team, of course. And that has been brilliant. And when young players perform and play with such fight and heart, it's easy to buy into it. It really is. And that was Arteta's plan, wasn't it? That was the club's plan, to lower the age of the starting 11, to bring in younger, hungrier players. So in that sense, their process, as we like to hear, has worked to a degree, and then you have to obviously marry that with the good results. What I think we just need now is actually the senior players, the older guys, to do their bit now and to stay on the pitch,
that was help
to deliver consistently excellent performances alongside these youthful talents. So, yeah, I'm what we need is Xhaka, Partey, and Lacazette to really step up in the second half of the season and perform like they can and be the leaders that we know that they can be as well.
Absolutely. Completely agree. We'll take a few of your questions for the last few minutes or so. So please do get them in the live chat. There's over 650 of you watching us live on YouTube alone right now, which is incredible. So please do hit the like button if you haven't done so already. We haven't even hit 100 likes yet. What's going on, people? Hit the like button. Let's get that up as far as we can. I hate saying it. I hate asking for it, but it really does help the channel and it really does help with growth. So please do get involved. Make sure you give Adrian a follow on Twitter as well. You can see his Twitter handle on the screen. And for those of you listening via the audio platforms, I'll make sure that I get that in the description for you as well. Let's go over to the comment section. Let's see what people are saying. Ant says, spot on, Adrian. Match going fans are king. Look, that's not to say that the fans that are abroad or watch from overseas are not important, but I think you do. That atmosphere in the stadium is really important because that's what transmits to the players. And too many times in the past, Adrian, I think we've been to games and we've seen the team lose the crowd really early. And then that just makes a mountain out of a molehill in terms of what we have to climb. And it's not helpful.
It's not, no. And no, it's no, I'm not having a pop at the other fans that don't get to go to the games. You know, the majority of Arsenal fans are absolutely superb. You get a few, but everyone's entitled to their own opinions as well. So those that are criticised and that do feel season over, then they've got the right to feel like that. I think they're wrong. I don't think it's season over, but yeah, the supporters that go to the games do not view this team, as one that's underachieving. I think they see a team with real promise. They see a team that's playing for the badge. And I think they can see improvement. The City game is a prime example. There are others. We've got to start winning, by the way, against the big four. We've got the sort of elite, or the big three rather, the Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City. We could do with a win against them. But the performance against City, the bravery of it, the way we committed to Arteta's tactics, same as against Liverpool when we were down to 10 men, the commitment for the badge there in that goalless draw, the commitment to the change in tactical, philosophy for that game only. It was brilliant, and I think that the fans do respond to that. So yeah, there are lots of positives, but if we end up if the season tails off into one where we finish in 7th or something like that, then there is that danger of that mood souring, I guess. But in the here and now, I still think it's good, and the players will need that positive energy even more between now and the end of the season. It's sort of a trimmed down, lean squad. We need that. They need every bit of backing that they can get, really, because we can't change it now. We can't sign anyone to the summer, so let's just get behind this group.
What do you make of the whole transfer window thing? Because I was listening to TalkSport earlier today, and Simon Jordan was saying that this idea of the transfer windows is kind of this monster that's been created by the media, where we all hype up one particular month and it suits the clubs that have got loads of money. But I think the example he used was, if you're a lower league club and you're in financial difficulty and you can sell a player at any point, you could sell an asset and potentially save yourself. And we're in a place where that's not allowed to happen. And he was saying it's the only sort of business where there isn't that free trade. Do you think that we make too much of the transfer window nowadays? And because of the media hype, and as a consequence of that, we feel disappointed about something that maybe we've blown out of proportion?
Yeah, I don't like it. I've never liked it, really. A bit of excitement, I suppose, around those. The night when we signed Ozil was very exciting, of course, and Arshavin as well. But no, it's not for me. I preferred the old days where you could move basically at any time of the season, up until about Easter. I think there was a transfer deadline in late March where you couldn't sign anyone beyond that, and I was involved in that as a player a few times. I preferred it that way. I really did. And you make a good point about clubs in need of money. They can offload as they go, and and whatnot. So yeah, it's better for players as well. You can end up being in limbo, can't you, for 6 months, your career completely on hold because you've fallen out of the manager, and it might not be necessarily your fault. So yeah. No, I would do away with it, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Won't happen. Love this screen name. Some bloke. He says, Emile Smith-Rowe is the new Merson. You played with Merce, Adrian. Can ESR play up top in a pinch? I guess the question is kind of, how do you compare the two? Because Merson was supremely talented. He was a wonderful footballer.
Oh, he's brilliant. Yeah, he's a maverick. He could play central midfield. He could play on either wing. And of course, in his younger days, he was a striker as well, and a really good striker. It's a good question. It is a good question. Do I see Smith-Rowe as the next Merson though? I don't know. I don't know. When I seen him striding up that wing and seeing him score the goals that he is, I can see the comparison. I can. I think earlier on in the season, I sort of made the comparison with Pires as well. I know you wouldn't have put Pires up front, would you?
No.
So can I see him up front? I can't really. I can't. Not unless we played a front two.
Yeah.
Then maybe where he's making those runs from deep. But in a front two, I think he would effectively be the number 10. So now I think he is a 10 that breaks into the box to score goals, or somebody that comes in off the left. And I think that's a role he does excellently. But I've not heard that comparison. I kind of get it. I do. But Merce was magic, and Smith-Rowe has got that potential. I mean, he's our top scorer. He's someone that we need, to continue to deliver in the second half of the season.
Following on from that question, Jid says, who do you think our most important two players will be heading into the second half of the season? Now, I know you mentioned that the senior guys really need to step up, but who, if you could pick out two players who you think's form will be the difference between us making it and not making it?
It's a really good question. I think they need them all to deliver, of course. I think we need to be solid defensively. We're still giving up too many chances. I know that we're getting more clean sheets this season, but I think we've had one or two wobbles. So I think the form of Gabriel is really, really important to us, to get those clean sheets and victories between now and the end of the season. I think he's had an excellent first part of the season, leveled off a little bit recently. But if he can pick up and get back to some of the form we saw earlier on in the season, he could be huge for us between now and the end of the campaign. Because I think when Gabriel plays well, we look a better defensive unit. And then I've got to say Saka, because if Saka's our best player, in my opinion. He creates goals, he scores goals, he carries the team in times of trouble as well. So we need Saka to stay fit. We need him to continue to bring those shooting boots that we saw. It's only a few weeks ago. It's not, we don't have to go too far back for when Saka was on that hot streak in terms of scoring goals. So yeah, if Saka can match or better his goals and assists output in the second half of the season, and if Gabriel can deliver those superb early season performances, then we've got a great chance. But I can't ignore. I've got to pick a third, and that's Thomas Partey. Yeah. I've got to pick him because he's not delivered as consistently as we'd have hoped, and the potential is there if he can be that beast in midfield that I know, and you know, Harry, and I think most fans know he can be on a consistent basis. Then we can beat a City, we can beat a Liverpool, we can beat a Manchester United, but we need him to be at it in those games for us to do that, in my opinion. So those are the three. Sorry, I've
no, that's fine. That's fine. Going back to Thomas Partey just briefly, what do you think it's been down to, the fact that he's not really performed at the level that we'd like? Because at the beginning, I was quite willing to say, fitness just isn't there. It's been a bit of a problem. It's an adaptation period. But as time's gone on, he's been picked and been available regularly. And then for me, I guess that kind of dilutes the argument about the fitness thing. Yeah, I've still seen performances where I've gone, not too sure about this. What would you say is the overriding reason, or, the cause for Thomas Partey maybe not
it's a
always
tough
being
question. I mean, maybe he doesn't even know. It's a hard one to answer categorically. I think it's got to be a psychological thing. Inside his head there. Has he got too comfortable? Has he pushed himself physically in matches as hard as he could have done? That is what I would, if I was the manager, that's what I'd be asking him. Is there a bit more that you can give? Because in certain matches, I've seen it. I've seen the aggression turned up, 2 or 3 degrees. I've seen those bursting runs where he's unstoppable. I've seen him get around the pitch to pick up those loose balls, in unbelievable fashion. We don't see it in every game, and I would be looking to demand that of him. And I think it can only be, in terms of mentally, and is he because as a footballer, I was guilty of it. We all are. You think you're doing well, you think you're doing the best you can do, but sometimes there's a bit more in there. There's a bit more inside that heart that you can give, where you go from doing well and doing good and playing decent to turn it up to boiling point, going above and beyond. And I think that's what I would be looking to encourage Partey to do between now and the season. Don't settle for just being good. You're capable of being,
being great,
different class.
Absolutely.
And I think it has to come from within him. It has to. And does he have that desire or not? I hope he does.
Yeah, fingers crossed, because as you say, he's going to be really keen, really important. Guys, we've come to the end of the show. I can see there's over 800 of you with us live right now, which is incredible. Please do hit that like button. Please do subscribe to the channel. And I wanted to finish off the show with a quote, basically, from a piece that I came across in The Athletic. It's been shared across social media quite a bit today, and I think a lot of you would have seen it. But I think this is really important. And at a time where a lot of Arsenal fans are losing their minds at the moment, and feeling really down and downbeat about it all, just a kind of message to keep the faith. And I think this is great. It says, Arsenal's malleability is misguided. You don't win the respect of the fans by acceding to their demands. You do it by showing you know better. The modern Arsenal was built on bold decisions no supporter would have taken. No Arsenal fan would have called for the appointment of Wenger, nor the signing of Patrick Vieira. No Arsenal fan thought they should replace Nicolas Anelka with Thierry Henry, or that Kolo Touré would make for a title-winning centre-half. The most successful period in Arsenal's history, from the 30s through to Wenger's teams, can be attributed to the visionaries who dared make decisions others wouldn't. At this precarious point in their timeline, Arsenal need to remember what once made them great. And this is a wonderful piece over in The Athletic. I'll link it in the description. But I think that just encapsulates everything about what's been good about Arsenal over the years, and that as fans, we can have an opinion and we're entitled to it. But sometimes we need to stand back and see how something's going to develop before we cast judgment.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing more for me to add really beyond that quote, because it's a really good 3 paragraphs there. It is a reminder. It's about those that are wearing the badge now, fulfilling their potential as well, isn't it? And I believe in these young players. I do think that they have got potential to be part of a really special Arsenal moving forward. So look, let's just get behind. My message is pretty simple. It kind of always is the same. Get behind this group of players, because I think that they're worth it, and hopefully they can deliver on their potential. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. There's no point. We can't control these decisions either, can we? We can't. No, exactly. We can't control the decisions that the club makes. That's what they're paid to do. Let's just support them now, support the team, and hope to get back in the Champions League, because that is still within our reach. It really is. And yeah, if this team can perform to their ability on a consistent basis, we can get top 4 this season. But they're underdogs to do it. Yeah, no doubt about that.
No, completely agree. Adrian, thank you so much, mate. Really, really appreciate you coming on. As always, it's great to get your views and get your opinions. They're always so level-headed and insightful, which is great. So thank you so much. Let people know where they can follow you on social media and how they can keep up to date with the great.
Yeah, I mean, just at Adrian J. Clarke on Twitter. You can see it there. Yeah, I'm on Instagram as well. I tend to put up a few mainly football-related stuff on there. But yeah, no, just please try and tune in if you. I know that a lot of you are frustrated that the breakdown isn't on the website. I am too. There's nothing that I can do about that at the moment. But give the breakdown live a watch. We got a really good offering ahead of the matches at halftime, at full time. There's commentary there as well. If you can always marry it up with the stream that you're watching if you are watching online, or at home. So give the breakdown live a watch between now and the end of the season. We're going to be moving actually into a executive box at some point between now and the end of the campaign. So we're going to have a bit of a reboot of the show, and we're going to be broadcasting live from inside the stadium, which is quite exciting, with a little studio audience inside one of the boxes as well, which is going to be quite fun. So look out for that one later in the campaign.
Yeah, check it out. Everybody's always moaning that the coverage on TV is anti-Arsenal. So why not go to Arsenal for the Arsenal?
Basically, I put together a pre-match show where we go deep. We dive a little bit deeper on the various tactical aspects that we can expect. It's a proper sort of analysis show, building you up to kick-off. And obviously from half-time, full-time onwards, we do something similar, but with input of the supporters. We use the tweets and stuff. So, if you're unhappy with the TV coverage, come give us a chance.
Absolutely. Make sure you do so. We'll be back very, very soon with more Arsenal related content. Until then, take care of yourselves. Cheers.
You're listening to the Chronicles of a Gooner, the Arsenal podcast.
I'm Martin Tyler, and you're listening